Intro to circles. So let's go over some terms when we talk about circles. So the first one is center. So the center is just a point in the exact middle of a circle. So we can show it like this. We can even label it, like say if we were going to call this circle A, right? So this is now labeled as circle A. A lot of times also, like in terms of circle with symbols, we would show it like this. So, right, it shows the center, and we like to label the circle to indicate what circle we're talking about. Now, radius is just a straight line segment that goes from the center to any point on the perimeter. So it's a segment because it has an ending point and a starting point, right? Or two ending points, two endpoints. So we can show it to be like this. So that would be the radius. But it could go anywhere, right? It could also be like this. But it's a line segment that goes from the center to any point. So that's why we showed two. So this is also considered the radius. Now what's the diameter? So the diameter is also a straight line segment that goes from one end of the perimeter to the other end of the perimeter. So let's just go ahead and draw it like this. So that would be considered the diameter because it goes straight through the center, right? It's just a straight line from one end to the other. And then lastly, we're going to talk about in this area is we're going to talk about the circumference, which is just the distance, right, around the circle. So it would be this whole thing here. This whole line here is the circumference. Now let's talk about lines and line segments. So a tangent line is a line that touches the circle at only one point. So it would be something like this. So we would say it only touched right there. We would show that if we were to zoom up into this little area, you could see, or we would show it a little bit differently, but it would only touch this point, and this would be super close to it, but only touches this point. So this is our tangent line. Now our secant line is a line that touches the circle at only 2 points. So we can show it like something like this. So it's a line that keeps going, but it touches at these 2 points of the circle. And then lastly, a chord is a line segment that goes from one end of the circle to another. So it stays inside, so this would be considered a chord, or this could be a chord, or this could be a chord, or this could be a chord, but the whole point is it just goes from one end to another end, and it's just a straight line segment. So these are chords. These are also chords, right? So it just kind of shows you what it could look like, or how many ways it could look differently, right? And there's so many more things we could show. Now let's talk about arc measure and arc length. So the arc measure now is the angle of the arc measured in degrees. It can also be radians, but for this video and for this course, we're going to talk about in terms of degrees, and it's made at the center of the circle. So let's go ahead and put some points on this circle to help clarify. Now here's the center. So the arc measure, so if we're talking about it in terms of the arc measure of, say, AB, so if this is the measure, arc measure, this is how we indicate it for AB. So we would show it, right, that it's the angle of the arc measured here. So that would be the arc measure. So it's between A and B, right? We're talking about this arc here. but we're talking about it in terms of degrees made at this angle here. Now, arc length is the length of the arc. So, if we're talking about it in terms of two ways, right? So if we were talking about the arc of AB, there's two ways to get to AB, right? Or A to B. So we can go the top, or we can go all the way on the bottom. And this bottom is actually considered our major arc because it's just bigger, right? And so to indicate this, we would show it like this. So it's still going from A to B, but it's going through the point C, so we indicate it through C. Because the minor arc is considered just AB, and this is right here, the minor arc. So there's two ways to indicate arc length. There's major and minor. And one is just the shorter way to get there, and one's the longer way to get there. And then this is how we indicate the difference. So if we were to show, if we just had these two, you wouldn't just know that this is the major arc because it's the bigger arc, and it goes through the point C, right? And then the minor arc is just AB, and so it's the shorter way, so it's considered the minor arc.